Coming home from work one evening, I found Amelia, my wife of 11 years, sitting silently at the kitchen table. A full glass of wine sat before her, a rare sight that instantly set off alarms in my mind. Amelia usually came home after me, and our unspoken rule was that whoever arrived first would start dinner. But there was no smell of food, no clatter of pans. The wine, her posture, and the absence of dinner told me something was wrong. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat across from her. The weight of her words came down hard. She spoke of a growing distance between us over the past 6 months, something she couldn't understand but could no longer ignore. She said she needed space, proposing a separation. Not a divorce, she clarified, but time apart to reflect and figure out where we had gone wrong. She was leaving to stay with her sister, packed and ready to go. Her words cut deep. While I reassured her that every marriage has rough patches, she dismissed it as avoidance on my part. She accused me of focusing solely on the lack of intimacy while ignoring the deeper emotional disconnect. She left that evening without a goodbye kiss, signaling just how far we had drifted apart. For weeks, she checked in with me weekly, as promised. Each time, she reassured me she was fine but wasn't ready to come home. Then, after 5 weeks, I started hearing rumors, whispers about her and another man. The pain of betrayal crept in as I struggled to accept what seemed inevitable. The rumors about Amelia grew louder, each one slicing through the hope I had clung to. People whispered about Benjamin Patterson, her colleague. Desperate to prove them wrong, I sought answers. But Amelia had become elusive, and those who might have known the truth kept silent, likely out of pity. One evening over dinner with my closest friend, William, and his wife, Charlotte, I voiced my frustration. I confided that I was considering hiring a private investigator to confirm or dispel these suspicions. William exchanged a glance with Charlotte before finally breaking the silence. "Don't waste your money," he said gravely. "The rumors are true." Hearing it confirmed felt like a punch to the gut. Amelia hadn't left to find clarity, she had left to be with Patterson. Charlotte, ever pragmatic, suggested that the so-called separation was nothing more than a safety net. If her affair didn't work out, she could return to me, and I'd still be there, loyal and unsuspecting. Betrayal burned in my chest, but it also lit a fire under me. For over a year, I had endured Amelia's emotional distance, her rejection, and now this, her affair. Determined not to let her actions leave me blindsided, I decided to act. The next day, I hired a private investigator. While they got to work uncovering the full extent of Amelia's relationship with Patterson, I devised a plan. I began systematically untangling my life from hers, starting with our finances. We shared a safe deposit box, and during a visit, I noticed her frequent check-ins. It became clear that she was keeping an eye on our shared assets, so I carefully swapped important documents with convincing duplicates and secured the originals. Next, I used the open line of credit tied to the house, her inheritance, to my advantage, drawing funds discreetly. Knowing Amelia had multiple credit cards in her name, I made strategic purchases. A new computer, high-end gadgets, and even a rifle. Items I knew she would be left to deal with when the dust settled. I remained outwardly calm, going about my days as though I still believed the separation was temporary. In truth, I was setting the stage for my departure while waiting for the private investigator's report. Weeks passed, and during this time, I found unexpected solace in Charlotte. She and William had been my anchors, providing steady companionship as I navigated the chaos Amelia left behind. Charlotte, perceptive and nurturing, picked up on my frustrations. One evening, after a gathering, she took me aside and made an offer that startled me. She and William wanted me to help them have a child. Charlotte explained William's infertility and their trust in me, not just as a friend but as someone they believed could play a meaningful role in their child's life. At first, I balked, questioning both the morality and practicality of the proposal. But Charlotte's honesty about their situation and her evident affection for her husband convinced me. It wasn't an impulsive request, it was a deeply considered one. The decision to go through with it felt surreal. I had spent so long being denied intimacy in my own marriage, and now I was being invited to participate in something as intimate as creating a life. It was unorthodox, but the connection I felt with Charlotte, along with William's trust, led me to agree. The first time with Charlotte was intense, a sharp contrast to the coldness I had felt from Amelia. For weeks, we met regularly, navigating the delicate boundaries of this arrangement. Each encounter deepened my bond with Charlotte, even as my resolve to move on from Amelia solidified. When the private investigator finally handed me their findings, the confirmation of Amelia's betrayal felt almost anticlimactic. I had already prepared myself for this truth. Armed with the evidence, I took the next step, drafting a list of actions to sever my ties with her completely. The financial manipulations, the investigator's report, and my growing connection with Charlotte had shifted the power dynamic in my life. I wasn't the passive, loyal husband waiting for a reconciliation anymore. I was reclaiming control. The day I received the investigator's report, I made a decision. Amelia and I were done. Armed with evidence of her affair, I initiated a series of final steps to protect myself from any fallout. I began by timing the draw on the house's line of credit, ensuring that the funds would clear before Amelia could detect what I had done. I also met with an attorney to prepare divorce papers citing infidelity, although I held off serving them until my preparations were complete. Meanwhile, my relationship with Charlotte deepened. What had started as an arrangement became something more. She revealed her pregnancy after several weeks, and William expressed gratitude for my role in giving them the family they dreamed of. The stark contrast between the warmth I found with them and the coldness I endured with Amelia made it easier to move forward. But Amelia hadn't disappeared completely. She called weekly, maintaining the pretense of concern, asking if I was doing all right. By then, I no longer cared about her updates. I answered politely, refraining from any mention of my plans. When the time was right, I began writing checks against the line of credit. Once the funds were secured, I moved into a new apartment and had the divorce papers served. Predictably, Amelia called in a panic. "You're overreacting," she insisted. "We can work this out without attorneys." Her pleas were hollow, and I met her for dinner only to buy myself time for the checks to clear. Sitting across from her, I saw the same woman I had once loved, but now I only felt relief knowing this chapter was coming to an end. Once everything was in place, I cut ties completely. Amelia's world crumbled in the aftermath. The credit cards I had maxed out left her saddled with debt. The house, her parents' cherished inheritance, fell into foreclosure. Her affair with Patterson disintegrated, too. He was hospitalized after a violent altercation, one that left him broken in more ways than one. Amelia, it seemed, had burned every bridge in her life. While she struggled, my life took a new trajectory. Charlotte and William's baby girl, Martha, was born, and her arrival brought joy I hadn't felt in years. William, however, was hiding a secret. Unknown to either of us, he was battling cancer. He passed away not long after Martha's birth, leaving behind a letter for me. In it, he thanked me for stepping into their lives and asked me to continue caring for Charlotte and Martha. He had known his time was short and had chosen me not just to father their child, but to protect the family he cherished. His trust in me was both humbling and motivating. Amelia's attempts to track me down eventually led her to confront me in a bar. She was bitter, demanding her share of the marital assets. I met her accusations with cold resolve, outlining the reality she faced. I had no assets to claim, no savings she could access, and no intention of ever giving her what she wanted. Her threats of legal action fell flat. I had prepared for this exact moment, and she had no leverage left. Her desperation was palpable. She ranted about losing her parents' home and the life she believed she deserved. I reminded her that she had thrown it all away the moment she walked out to be with Patterson. "You tried to screw me over, Amelia," I told her. "And you failed." Her final blow came days later when she served me with divorce papers. I didn't contest them. The court awarded her half of the marital assets, but there was little left for her to claim. She lost everything: her home, her car, and her job. Rumor had it she moved to California to start over, cutting ties with everyone, including her sister. For me, this chapter ended with freedom. I married Charlotte 6 months later, fulfilling William's wish to provide a loving home for Martha. Our life together was one of healing and joy, a sharp contrast to the bitterness of the past. Life moved on, but its twists remained a constant reminder of how unpredictable it could be. Charlotte and I built a quiet, fulfilling life together, anchored by our shared love for Martha. William's absence was felt deeply, but his foresight and trust gave us the strength to honor his memory. Amelia became nothing more than a distant memory. Her attempts to reach out after her move to California went unanswered. Any sympathy I might have once had for her had been eroded by her betrayal. In the end, she became a cautionary tale to me, a reminder of how easily trust can be destroyed and how much strength it takes to rebuild after betrayal. Martha grew into a bright and curious child, full of life and energy. Every milestone she achieved reminded me of William's parting gift and the responsibility I had accepted. Charlotte and I never spoke of the unconventional beginning of our family, but the bond we shared made it clear that we were exactly where we were meant to be. The journey wasn't without its scars, but it taught me resilience, self-worth, and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who value and respect you. Betrayal had once left me lost, but love, honest, genuine love, brought me back. To those reading this, let this story remind you: know your worth, protect your peace, and never settle for less than respect and honesty. If you found this story meaningful, consider sharing your thoughts below. And for more stories like this, filled with lessons and reflection, subscribe to the channel to stay connected. Let's learn and grow together.